And we're going to come back and finish talking about critical thinking.
Only in the forest can you see this. But nothing beats the moment you see that.
Cool!
That's your child's eyes opening up to a world of possibilities.
There are some moments only the forest can inspire. Find yours at discovertheforest.org. Learn about forests near you and discover cool things to do when you go. And you might just see this. Visit discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Check out this snippet from the new season of Talk Lately with Monty about Jennifer Holliday.
Anyway, let's get back to
yeah, well, what I wanted to say is that I can understand 100% where Jennifer Holliday is coming from, and that's sort of kind of where my 20% came from. When I basically came out and said who I voted for, I received a lot of backlash. Even on my own talk show, which comes on every Monday from 5 to 7 p.m., I was called a coon. Okay, yeah, shout out for the plug. But yeah, someone actually, you know, they told CJ Bernie that I was a coon, and that really hurt me. I've been called everything from a fat whatever and everything, but someone actually commented on his Facebook.
I didn't even say that. That's kind of rough.
Called me a coon, but it's like I like you. It's crazy because I just feel like someone like Jennifer Holliday. I understand why she stepped down, but I'm kind of upset with her because I think she still should have performed. You know, if you want to jump out there, then stand in your truth. Don't let no one stop you or change your mind about anything. And listen, no one put a gun to her head and made her sign on for that. But it just seems like, you know, she was basically she was bullied.
But see, the thing about it is they will put a gun to her head to not do it.
I don't think so.
Well, that's what the threat says. You gotta say it's why it's called a threat. You don't know the hypotheticals in there that could happen to you.
Why do you think
she's not a well-known singer, so she's not going around with security. As soon as she goes to get her tracks at the mall,
right?
Pow!
Right, but at the same time,
now we got a whole bunch of dead cats.
Yeah, but like what she said in the footage, you know, today on The View was basically it's not white people who was threatening her. It was us who was threatening her.
Right. Where do you think she live? I think she live in Atlanta.
Exactly.
They gonna get her at the Ku Klux Klan mall and drag her by her hair. You know her hair made a cat. She got the new weave.
I don't have Jennifer Holliday money, honey.
Yeah,
I don't know what it might be because it's I don't got Jennifer Holliday money, but me personally, I feel as though, you know, like I said, once I kind of came out, and even being on this show, because I'm pretty sure the headline says Trump supporter, I'm putting a lot of myself out there. You know what I'm saying? So I get it.
Every Tuesday.
You are listening to BeExposedRadio.com.
Business owners need more customers, offer fantasy sports contests, and generate more sales.
All right, you ready? All right. Hey, what's up, family? Welcome to the Black Bottom Man Radio Show. I'm your host, Brother Mike, and I'm here with my partners in consciousness, my co-host, the lovely Ms.Janice. How you doing today, Ms.Janice?
Good. What about yourself?
I am wonderful. And we're also here with our awesome team member, Miss Samantha, glam by Sam.
Hi.
How you doing today, Miss Dennis?
Take
your time. That's what we love about live internet radio. You know, we keep it 100. So we run a little bit behind today. We do apologize for that. We want to thank you guys for tuning in with us. And we're going to continue to send out some invites so you guys can participate with us today. Excuse me. So while we get that started, let's talk current events. Ms.Janice.
Yes, let's talk about the 14-year-old girl.
Okay.
At the mall. There was a bunch of teens at the mall, and I think they was picking on another teen, so the police was called out. Mm-hmm. So the police got there and issued a trespassing warning, something like that. Most of the teens left, but some stayed. Now, it was one particular 14-year-old girl, I guess, was giving the police problems. So she got thrown to the ground, and they was hitting her in her ribs.
Oh, I did see that. Yeah, I did see that. I'm not sure where it was at. I remember seeing the post on Facebook when the police was punching the young lady in her ribs. So this is what I'm going to say in regards to that. It goes back to what I've said on many of these Black by Demand episodes, which is, as parents, we have to teach our children what they're up against. Mm-hmm. Do you get what I'm saying? See, this is happening because, you know, black children are not fully in the know of what they're bringing upon themselves when they even allow themselves to end up in these situations. You understand what I mean? Like, it could be something minor, but once these gang members, I mean police officers, arrive on the scene, it can turn into something different. But go ahead, I'm sorry.
Yes, it was in Coral Springs, Florida.
Oh.
And
Florida again. Let me say something about Florida.
Like literally the hot state.
Right. Now, let me tell you what I mean about young generations not being informed. I'll use my own son. Just a couple weeks back, he's got one of his friends that has family in Florida. So he's like, Dad, I'm thinking about going to Florida, you know, for a week with such and such. He's got family down there, this, that, blah, blah, blah. And I looked at him like, are you crazy? Are you crazy? So first of all, let me just thank my blessings that at 22 years old, my son still will come and talk to me about something. So I had to inform him about what's going on in Florida. I'm like, Florida is like the hot spot for killing black people, especially young black people.
Yeah.
Like the Trayvon Martin thing kind of kicked it off, right? Wasn't that in Florida as well? See, that's what I mean. Now, my son was completely uninformed about that. And that's what I mean. So it's my job as a parent to say to him, I don't want you going to that area unless I'm going to be there. Like, Florida is not Ocean City. You can't just make a phone call to me. I'm on my way, son. It's not going to happen in Florida, right? You know, so that's what I mean. Our children are so uninformed. So even my own son was thinking about going to Florida, you know, with one of his friends, and I'm like, absolutely not. You know, and thank God that even at 22, he still respects his father's opinion and decisions on things. So he ended up not going. I told him, I said, go to Ocean City.
Right,
you can stay down there for 3-4 days. But Florida, no, sir.
Right.
No.
The main reason I brought this one up, because I wanted to talk about, just like you just finished saying, like, we're not talking to our kids enough. This is just proof of it.
Yes.
I think, like, because she could have avoided that. Like, that could get you killed.
Yes.
I think a lot of times the conversation that's absent is how to conduct yourself in situations like that. And that goes for grown people and adolescents.
True.
Yeah.
But we have an enemy.
Yeah.
We have an enemy. It doesn't matter to me how many black people want to tell me all about these good police, okay? I know that there are police out here who do not participate in the type of activities that a lot of these racist cops are doing. But I do still struggle with calling them a good cop, because if you're a good cop, why do you allow these cops to do what they do? But I digress.
And
you get what I'm saying?
And the chief down there said, you know, his actions, the cop actions were justified.
Right, of course.
She was out of control. They said she wouldn't unball her fist, so they didn't know if she had a weapon. So it's just a mess. So yeah, you do have to have these discussions with your children.
You do. And you have to make them aware of that there is an enemy out there. Every time the police pull you over, or every time you have an interaction with the police as a black person, you are at risk of being in front of your enemy. Hopefully, it's not a police officer that wants to demonstrate that he's your enemy, but we all see it's a high probability of that being the case. So if we're not talking to our children do not have the coping mechanisms to deal with these type of intense situations. What they're going to do is what most of us do as black people, me and anyone else, which is become emotional. And that is the trigger point for the police. They know that black people are emotional people. So when they arrive on the scene, they are purposely trying to say and do things to you to get your emotions up, right? And then once they get your emotions up, then it's like, oh, that's what we needed. Now we're going to kick your ass. You know what I'm saying? Gotcha. You know, so I'm saying we need to have these discussions with our children, you know, and make them understand in this day and age, and it's every day and age really, but we'll just say this day and age for the sake of it being so prevalent on social media. Like, you have to understand what you're getting yourself into. And I think a lot of us as black people are just scared to still tell our children that there are a group of people out here that are your enemies.
Okay, so on that note, there was an article posted, written by News One, that this struggle is real. Calling police on black children harms mental health.
Yep.
The problem of police being called on black children is growing. As more incidents come to light, what is also increasing is the number of children experiencing mental health struggles connected to traumatic police encounters prompted by the 911 calls.
And that's Radio 1, correct?
News One, yeah.
News One, okay. Are they a part of Radio 1? I'm not sure. They probably are.
Yeah.
They probably are, one way or another. But yeah, that's very unfortunate, because we keep dealing with these situations. And I'm going to tap on this while we're speaking on it, right? Because a lot of times I feel that when we have discussions about our children, right, and the younger generations, mentally we tend to think about the boys. But I'm here to tell you, these little young black girls have been out of control for years. You understand what I'm saying? And nobody is saying anything. So it hurts me to my heart to see a young lady go through this, but at the same time, I know she's emotional like that because she ain't coming from a background where people are teaching her to control her emotions, and then all her little clique, her friends at school, her friends on the teams that she's involved with, all these little black girls act the same way.
They do. I can, sorry to cut
Talk
you off.
to me. No, go for it.
Just in high school alone, like my friends used to fight, and they used to be like, Sam, why you don't have it? What?
Right.
I gotta go home after this. Like, almost bugging.
Yes, yes.
So I can really agree with that peer pressure, boy.
So we got a comment here. This is Mr. Daryl White. Thank you for tuning in with us, brother. So Daryl says, in some instances, children respond the same way to their parents, or their parents directly or indirectly teach them to defy authority. Okay, I'm with you, brother. I'm with you. So he's tapping on the same thing. Like, I don't want to, you know, point fingers, but at the same time, there has to come a point where the parents have to take some responsibility. Right. You know, especially it's one thing to be in a situation and your child doesn't know how to control their emotions. But then it's a whole nother ball game when not only in that situation does the child not know how to control their emotions, but she or he is dealing with someone who is psychologically making sure they try to make your emotions erupt. Right. So this requires extra teachings. You know what I mean? It's not a regular situation. You know, as black people, we can go off in a regular situation. So you can forget about it when you got an officer or a teacher that's purposely trying to push your buttons. Right. We're going to explode. So we're going to have to start teaching our children different coping mechanisms when they are in the face of these gang members. I mean, police officers. I'm sorry, I keep getting that mixed up. Something about the colors and the guns and the hand signs. I'm just thinking gang member, but you know, maybe that's just me. I just digress. But anyway, yeah, you know, because that kind of fires me up a little bit. You know what grinds my gears? No, I'm not going to do that. All right, what else we got going on?
Okay, so on a positive note, Beyonce and Jay-Z helped raise $6 million for organization focused on cancer research.
Oh, nice.
The City of Hope is a California-based nonprofit that focuses on cancer research and treatment. Okay. So
go Jay-Z and Beyonce. Do they have like a couple name? I don't know. You know how like if you watch like Big Brother or Survivor, the people link up, they give them like a couple name. Oh yeah. Do Jay-Z and Beyonce have one?
I don't know.
They too big for that shit, huh?
J and B.
King and Queen.
J and B. You ain't nicknaming us, right? So I'll speak on one. I don't know if you have this in the write-up today. Oh, Nate, today's topic. Today we doing constructive or destructive, Nate. That's for our manager, and I'll tap more into that in a second. I saw one that disturbed me to the core, and believe it or not, in this particular situation, the cop actually did the right thing. So it was a video on Facebook. Someone called the police on these two young black boys. One was 11, one was 13, and said he had a gun. Okay, and the 11-year-old did have a gun. He had a BB gun replica of like a Colt 45 gun. So when the police officer pulls up on him, the little boy pulls the gun out and drops it on the ground. Now, luckily enough, this particular officer, who was a white officer, also happened to be like a veteran. He's been to Iraq and all that. So he had his emotions a little more in check, right? And he didn't pull out his gun and shoot the kid. And he said he could tell from the sound that the weapon made when it hit the ground that it wasn't a real gun. Now, that's an experienced person. Right. You know what I mean? This is a dude who can hear the difference between a nickel and a quarter when it hits the ground. You get what I'm saying? With his eyes closed, right? But I applaud him because he was actually pissed at the little boy. And he couldn't say to him what he wanted to say to him, but he basically came at him like, dude, are you crazy? You understand what I mean? Like, with everything that's going on in this world, like, you have the nerve to be walking down the street with a replica of a real gun. Like, he was like, I could have got out the car and shot you. You know what I mean? And like, it would have been justified. Like, you had a gun. You know what I mean? Like, the cop was so pissed at him. I would have been pissed too. And what he wanted to say to him was, do you know that you're black? You get what I'm saying? Like, you walking around with a replica of a gun on you, with white people calling the police saying this kid is out here with a gun, and then I show up on the scene as an officer, and you pull the gun out and then drop it on the ground.
In him doing that, he's acknowledging everything that's going on. So if it's someone from the police department that's saying, yes, this is an issue, and he's mad because of it, that's acknowledgement. You know what's going on.
So that's the first time I actually seen, you know, an officer like handle something the proper way. But I could feel his pain and his frustration. He was so upset because in his mind, he's thinking, I could have killed you and got away with it just to find out in the end game that you had a fake gun.
Right.
Now, what I have a serious problem with is what is going on with the teachings with this young man in 2018. We're at 11 years old. He was not aware that carrying a BB gun that's a replica of a real gun can get him killed.
That's what I'm
trying to figure out where the ball got dropped on that.
That's what I was going to say. More proof that we're not having conversations.
I'm telling you, if we don't start talking to these children about what's going on in this world, they're just going to keep getting hurt. They're going to keep dying. And as far as the young ladies, somebody needs to tell these young black girls that they're not fighters. You're not on this earth to be a fighter. You understand what I mean? To be scrapping with people and beating people up over social media, because I'm sorry, but young black women are out of control. And it's like no one's saying anything. But at the BBD radio show, Brother Mike is going to say something. I'm going to say something because I love our people and I want us all to do better. And I don't think we can do better if we're not discussing the areas that are not going good. And in the past few years, I've just seen this elevation in young black girls wilding out. You know what I mean? Fighting each other. I mean, I can't imagine for a mother to have someone show them a Facebook video of her daughter coming home from school with 4 or 5 other little black girls following her, beating her up on the doorstep of her home. And this is what be going on. It's insanity. Yes, it's insanity.
But you also have to take into consideration the reality shows that's on TV right now is showing women totally out of control.
True.
So these little girls are watching that.
True.
So
very true.
They are getting some help with this.
Yeah, they are definitely fueling the fire. You know what I mean? And we know who's behind that. You know what I mean? We know who's behind that, the man right there. But I still believe we gotta do more talking about this. You know what I mean? Like we have to bring this to the forefront and make parents realize you can do better. You have to accept some responsibility. If that would have been my child, the 11-year-old boy or the little girl, I'd be thinking, where am I going wrong with these teachings? Where am I not making my child understand the evils that are out here and that you can't do anything to allow these evils to provoke you to emotional responses and carrying a BB gun? I'm just done with that. You know what I mean? Like, thank God that little boy wasn't my son, because I'd have made him go pick the switches. Go out back and get the switches yourself. And get 4 or 5 of them. I'm planning on running through all these. I'm about to tear your ass up. You know what I mean? Like you are straight bugging.
Well, present day and time, you're definitely going to have these discussions with your children.
I think so.
Because between TV and social media,
it's being promoted. It's being promoted. And again, I feel that even that is things we should be discussing as a people. We should be having discussions where as black people we say, listen, we have to start protecting our children against this whole vibe that social media is sending their way of being violent, of being oversexed, you know, having young black women feel that their body is their biggest asset. She don't feel like she can get any attention unless she shows herself half naked. You know, like these are things that need to be discussed. And it doesn't always seem, you know what I mean, that it's getting discussed.
Just the fact alone that you're going to carry a fake BB gun.
Right.
That's just no knowledge whatsoever.
Exactly.
I mean, even in that new movie that came out, The Hate You Give, like you see the little boy getting shot down just for picking up his brush.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
Just to
you pull your cell phone out and these people will kill you. This little boy's walking with a gun. So Nate says, but that child didn't buy that gun for himself. Exactly, Nate. And that's what I'm saying. You know what I mean? Like, how did this child even get a hold of a BB gun? And this wasn't no regular Daisy BB gun because they showed the gun. That thing was like a replica of like a Colt 45. Like I'm so impressed that that cop didn't shoot him. You know, it put a little glimpse of hope in me that maybe there's 1 or 2 of them. You know, the size of a grain of salt. You know, the size of a mustard seed. You know, that might might not kill your children because if that young boy would have got killed, all of us as black people would have just put our head down like, damn. What could we really have said? when the cop said, listen, not only did I get a report that he had a gun, when I got there, he pulled the gun out and I popped him, right? And him using his background of being overseas could have been his excuse. Look, I'll be overseas. I've had 7-year-olds jump out on me with AK-47s.
Right.
True.
He'd have got away with it.
Seriously.
So my hat's off to that officer. I don't know your name or who you was. I'm just going to call you the good guy on Facebook. My hat is off to him. So anyway, anything else we got good going on?
That's it.
All right, so let's talk about today's show. So today's show is going to be part of basically a new segment that we're going to incorporate into the Black Body Man radio show. It's called Constructive or Destructive. So at least once a month, we're going to do a show on constructive or destructive, and we're going to go over things that we feel pertain to us as black people and try to have a discussion if this is constructive or if it's destructive. So today will be episode 1 of Constructive or Destructive. How's that sound, ladies?
Pretty good.
Pretty good? Interesting?
Right.
All right, well, let's get
wait
into
to
it.
hear it.
Constructive or destructive? Child support. Let's talk about it. And audience, please participate with us today. We want to get you guys' take on constructive or destructive. So let's start off with child support. Constructive or destructive?
Constructive.
Constructive. Ms.Janice, how you feel? Well, you know what, before you do that, why constructive? Let's get everybody's explanation on why constructive, you know, or destructive. Why do you feel constructive, Ms. Janice?
I feel it's necessary in some cases.
Okay.
It's just necessary. I don't feel like it's a bad thing.
Okay.
If not enforcing it.
Ms.Janice, and we all have children, so.
Yes. I don't know. I'm torn between this one.
Okay. I think this is a tough one, too.
It is tough because behind it, what it's supposed to do, it can be seen as a good thing. But on the other end, it's always had this negative stigma to it where it's like, oh, child support. Like, but it's supposed to be for the benefit of the child.
Right.
It doesn't always get used that way.
And of course, it could be destructive in ways when it's abused. Right. But for the most part, I mean, child support, it's constructive. It's necessary.
Okay.
And if you didn't make it necessary in a lot of cases, then it wouldn't be constructive. But it is. Yeah. It's very much constructive.
Constructive?
Yes.
All right, so we'll go to the comments again. Mr. Darrell White, he says constructive because it's designed to provide financial support to the child. Okay. I definitely see you guys' perspective. I think it's destructive, but you know, I'm always, against the grain, right? But I agree with, you ladies that in many situations it is constructive, because we all know that we have, men out here who create babies and then they don't take care of it. So I completely get, a black woman trying to work with, the father and saying, listen, we had this child together. You have to help me take care of this child. And then he doesn't, do what he's supposed to. And she has to go to get child support.
Yeah. And if it wasn't child support, then maybe it could be destructive. But it's child support. So it's support for the child.
Yes.
That has to be constructive. It's for the child.
True.
I understand when, adults are battling back and forth, but a lot of times we forget it's about the child.
It is about the child. So I'll tell you why I think it's destructive. I think it's destructive, but I think it can be constructive, when necessary. First point is, I think a lot of men don't even get given a chance to take care of the child because there are a lot of young women that's going straight to Bel Air if you're in Harford County, right? So they can get that apartment. Right, you understand what I mean? So see, to me, that's destructive because you're not even giving him a chance to step up to the plate because the powers to be told you that you can get a free apartment, you know what I mean, with an independence card, so forth and so on. So for me, that's destructive, right? Because she's not giving it a chance to take off. But my biggest reason for thinking that it's destructive because I wish we as a people could reach a point as black people where we don't have to go to white people to solve our problems. I think it's embarrassing as two black people that you have to go stand before a white person and say, listen, her and I laid down together and had a child, but we cannot figure out how we're supposed to take care of this child. So Mr. White Man, could you please tell us how we should operate with our child? I think that's destructive. Figure it out. I think it has handicapped us as a people. It's given free reign to us to sex anyone and have babies with anyone. If child support did not exist, women would be more selective with who they had a baby with. Men would be more selective about who they had sex with. But we don't have to have those concerns because child support's in place. So if that woman chooses a man that doesn't step up to the plate, she can say, oh, no big deal. I'll take his ass up to, oh, I'm going to take you downtown. That's my man said, right? I'm going to take him to court. She doesn't have to deal with the repercussions of her choosing to have a child with a man that's not going to be a good father. So to me, that is destructive. I don't think we need to go to another race of people to say, tell me and my baby mama how we need to take care of this child. To me, that's embarrassing. But at the same time, I know it's needed in many situations. But overall, I think it's destructive. I don't think it has helped us. I think it has helped handicap us. Yeah. You know what I mean? I think it has. I mean, like when my parents their parents, I should say, were young, there was no such thing as child support. You know what I mean? Like, you got held accountable. So if you was a woman and you went to your grandmother or whoever and said, listen, you know, he ain't taking care of the baby, your grandmother gonna look at you like, and you didn't know that before you laid down with him? What was it about him that made you open your legs and think you was gonna be okay if you had a baby by him when you already knew he don't even have a job? Well, see, all that's been wiped out because of child support now. Yeah. You can have a baby by anybody and just take them for child support. You know, so that's why I tend to think it's somewhat destructive, but I do understand that it is needed in many cases. You know what I mean? But it's needed because it was initially put in place, and that's what created the need. Right. Before that, I don't think the need was there. You think we would be better off now if child support didn't exist? I do, because I think you're going to another race of people to solve things that we should have been dealing with within ourselves as a race of people. We should be teaching our daughters as well as our boys about the responsibilities of having sex and having babies, not letting them be freelance and then say, hey, if he don't want to act right, take his ass for child support. You know what I mean? And like I said, a lot of cases with young women, them young boys don't even get a chance because everybody's in her ear like, girl, you can get an apartment. You understand me? Just take him to Bel Air. And see, and that's the whole hat trick that we as a people are not seeing. All of that was put in place to break up black families. You get what I'm saying? They don't want us staying together and working things out. Come to me as a white judge. I will give you welfare. I will give you an independence card. I will make sure you're okay. You don't have to get a job. I don't even need you to get a job. I'm just going to put you in the projects, right? I only got one condition. He can't come. That's it. He can't come.
So that child support is just a smaller piece to the already bigger puzzle of
exactly.
See?
So that's
right. So when you have the understanding that I have, you see how it's destructive.
So that's what I was going to say. Like, if they never started it in the first place, then sure. Yeah.
Right.
But today, present, I mean, it's constructive.
Right. They definitely set it up so now it's needed. But as far as child support itself, I believe it's destructive. It has not helped us. What has child support done for us other than cause men and women to have fights and arguments and be back in court over real stuff? Like, it's not a lot of black women who can say, well, we live a good life because his dad pays child support. That just really doesn't happen. There's a bunch of arguments over what she's doing with the money. You understand me? If he's paying on time, and it's a system set up to put black men in jail. And not because only that, that's what the white people who control this are doing. We're going to give you all of this, and we're going to put him on child support, even though we know he doesn't have a job. And as soon as he misses a payment, we locking his ass up. And why would she care? She's home in her apartment with them other dudes smoking weed, drinking. That's just what they do.
Stigma to it.
That's the reality.
And it's still bad because even through everything you just finished saying, even through all of that, it's the main reason is the child. So the child is still caught in the middle of it.
The child is caught in the middle.
The whole child gets lost in the
the whole fight, the whole battle of child support. The child get lost.
Now I have a lot of respect for black women who get put in situations with deadbeat dads, and then they go hard at trying to talk to him. Like, listen, I work. Okay, I don't need to put you on child support, but you need to help me take care of this child. So I understand the women who keep trying to do that, and the brother just forces their hand, where she says, listen, it's been 2 years, okay, and he ain't paid nothing, he ain't helped with nothing, he bought one pair of shoes, I have no choice but to take him. So I get that, you know what I mean, I get that, you know, but overall, because I know what the whole purpose of child support was, it's destructive. It is destructive. So we agree to disagree, which would make sense, because I'm a male, and y'all well, right. So you got the bias of someone who would have to pay versus someone who receives.
That's the argument right there.
So that's what makes that one such a good topic for destructive or constructive, right? Audience, please tune in with us. Tell us what you think about child support, constructive or destructive. But yeah, I tend to know the basis behind it and what it has done to us. You know, like, if we as black people could see what I've seen, right, which is, say, the statistics or the graphics of how we was pre-child support versus post-child support, you would see how it's destroyed us. It's destroyed us. Yeah, and it adds to keeping black men and black women hating each other. You get what I'm saying? Listen, deadbeat dad, right? Let's just take that term. That term was developed because of child support. There was no such term as that until child support got involved.
What was it called before?
Losers. 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 Bad choices. Right? That's what I'm saying. You know, you're just a loser. You know? So child support has produced all of that. And of course, I'm biased as well. I've never paid child support. My son's been with me since he's been born, from day one. You know, praise the Most High for that. But I've seen it, you know, with family and friends, and, you know, I've seen how it goes, and I just never seen nothing pretty come out of it. It's just always been a disaster, you know what I mean? And like I said, once you dive into finding out their purpose behind this, it's working out just the way they wanted it to, which is making us hate each other, keeping us separated, and giving a free license to have a baby with whoever you want. Now, let me talk about the flip side. The flip side of having these babies by these bums is the women who go and have a baby by somebody with paper, right? I mean, I remember when I seen an article with Diddy's, I think it was Diddy's. No, it was Nas. Nas's baby mama was getting $16,000 a month in child support, and she said that's not enough. See what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Right. Yeah, but even that's a bunch of nonsense, you know. If we, you know, most of us believe in scriptures, right? So if we go biblically, you leave a relationship with exactly what you brought into it, with what you brought into it. Like this is European law, where, you know, where you gave that woman that lifestyle, so you have to sustain it now. That's a bunch of bullshit. You know what I'm saying? She's not my woman no more. Yeah, like, she's not my woman no more. You know, like, that lifestyle that I gave her was because she was my woman. Why would I need to continue to provide that when she's not my woman no more? The next dude that she's with, that's his job. You understand me? He's supposed to provide her with that. Why would I need to keep supporting her lifestyle? See, white man made that up. Biblically, if you separate or divorce, you leave with what you came with, or whatever you helped produce while y'all was together. You do your little 50-50 thing, or whatever. But we live in a totally different time where they got women believing, well, I was with you for 10 years. And, you know, you was making $18 million a year. Okay, and now you're not with me. So why would you get something that's $18 million? It doesn't make any sense.
It's only right. It's only right.
I will say this, though, as a man, I would still give that woman a certain lifestyle, but that's just me as a man. It shouldn't be where I'm obligated to do that. That's just me saying, listen, I still love her, even though I'm not in love with her and I'm in love with someone else, but I still want to make sure she's okay. And I think a lot of men would do that if they was put in that situation. But, you know, the one thing about men is when you put our back against the wall and say, we got to do this and we got to do that, that's when we buck against you. Like, wait a minute, hold up. I ain't got to do nothing but stay black and die. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just, you know, that's just kind of my take on it. You know, I'm just saying, you know, it ain't been set up to help us. It's been pretty daggone destructive. So that's a good one, though.
That was a good one.
That was a good one.
That was a It's gonna be girls versus guys on that one.
You know, but again, that's the beauty of the BBD radio show. Right. Exactly. Payer versus payee. That's what this is all about. All right, so we got less than a minute. Anything else on child support? Oh, how about this? Should we participate in it? Because that's the other thing. We don't have to participate in it. Like, I do know men and women who say, I know women in particular who say, Oh, I've never taken him for child support. Yet he doesn't do what he's supposed to do. You know what I mean? I just keep banging on him about that. Yeah. But I'm not going to turn him over to his enemies and have them put him in jail, because how's that helping my child?
I don't think we should. I don't think we should participate in it unless it's
your hand is forced, right? Unless that brother forces your hand.
Yes, unless it's just
but don't do it just because they're gonna give you a free apartment in the project.
Absolutely necessary.
Right.
That's the only.
I get it. You know, like my mother made my father pay child support, even though she owned her own home. So it wasn't because she got a free apartment. Right. She just like, this brother gonna take care of y'all. I ain't doing this by myself. Right. You know, and my father didn't give no problems, and he was in our life, you know what I'm saying? But I remember every day he dropped us off here, get that check to your mother. I got the check, I'm like this. Okay, all right, we good. Take it right on, here you go, Mom. You know, we all been through it, right?
Like I said, sometimes it's just necessary.
I think it is necessary sometimes. All right, we up on break, Nate? All right, well, stay with us. Black Bottom Man Radio Show. We doing constructive or destructive. We'll be back.
It's gonna get juicy today.
Yeah, that was good, ladies. I'm glad y'all stood y'all ground on that, because y'all supposed to. You know what I mean? Not that y'all ever had a problem with it.
It is with great pleasure that I welcome you to today's graduation ceremony. Students, when you hear the reason or reasons for your absences throughout the years, please exit the auditorium without your high school diploma. Once you've exited, remove your cap and gown and proceed into the unknown. Too tired. Family trip. Part-time job. Helping around the house. Sick day. Starting the holidays early. Just because.
Starting in the 6th grade, students who miss 18 days or more of school in a year for any reason will fall behind and risk not graduating high school. How many days of school has your child missed this year? Absences add up. Keep track at boostattendance.org today. Brought to you by the U.S. Army and the Ad Council.
Thank you for tuning in to BeExposedRadio.com. Sit back, relax, and listen to this flashback of the Artist Exchange Radio Show.
What does hustle hard mean to you? What does that signify in your life?
That's a lifestyle for me. You know what I mean? Like, true story, I was born into a family and a community of hustlers. Now, let's get focused right quick, because when people hear the word hustler, they confuse it with con artist or something negative. So they like to call people entrepreneurs, right? But the definition, and I'm paraphrasing, you know, but the definition of hustle is forced movement or to be hurried, right? But we're not talking about just pushing other people. Sometimes you got to push yourself, and that what makes you a hustler. True story. So the thing about it is, like, when it comes to hustling, listen, quick story. I used to go buy juleps a lot, right? And my grandmother used to make me clean the yard, you know, shovel snow, do things like that to go get a julep. But one day she was like, look, you putting all your money in someone else's pocket. Word. Save those quarters, and I can teach you how to make a formula, and you can sell your own juleps. You understand? So the next couple weeks, I saved my money.
Always a hustler.
Listen,
got to love
but think
everybody
about
got
this.
a grandma story like that.
Grandmothers are the natural hustlers because they were the ones who maintained and sustained our families through epidemics. You're talking Big Mama went through slavery and held it. You're talking Big Mama went through the Depression and held it. Big Mama went through crack and held it and still maintains it today. So if you don't think you come from a hustler, then you don't know where you come from. You understand?
That's so real.
I began to sell juleps, and ever since then, I capture a hustle. And a hustle is not
You are listening to BeExposedRadio.com.
Hey, swipe to reveal comments and reactions. That's what I'm doing here. All right. Welcome back to the Black Bottom Man Radio Show. Today we are talking our first episode of Constructive or Destructive, where we will be... All right. Where we will be bringing you some things that pertain to us as a people and helping us decide if it's destructive or constructive or destructive. Conjunction, junction, what's your function? All right, let's do this. I know that's above your head, right? You got to be old school to know that. All right, so we did child support, right? So overall, we agree to disagree. I think it's pretty much destructive. The ladies think it's constructive. And I think that is fitting because I'm the payee as a male, and they I'm the payer rather, and you guys would be payees, right? Even though I've never had to do that. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. All right, so let's move on. Constructive or destructive? Voting. Voting. It's that time of year, right? Constructive or destructive? Voting. Let's hear about voting. What do you ladies think?
I hope I don't get beat up on this one.
Yeah, this one's going to be a little ruckus involved with this.
Yeah, I hope
Is voting constructive or destructive?
I'm going to go with destructive.
You going with destructive?
Yes.
Why?
Unless there's a plan in place after the voting, I don't see where it goes after that.
Okay. All right. That's fair. Ms.Janice? Constructive or destructive?
Destructive.
Destructive. All right. Voting constructive or destructive? What's your reasons?
You like to think it's constructive, and you like to think that you can make a change, but I feel like there's always some scandal afterwards where it's like votes lost and miscalculations, and it's just like.
I agree. Yeah. I feel like that's where the distraction comes in. That I feel like we get distracted by thinking you voted. It's going to make a difference. But if you think about over all the years that we voted, I'm trying to think what actually benefited.
That's a good question.
Us from the vote. I mean, they say we have power in that voting, but I just have yet to see the power.
Okay. So I like it. I think
go with destructive.
Daryl White says constructive without a potential outcome in mind. Okay, I like that answer as well. I think this is definitely a tough one, just like child support. I feel that voting is constructive if we were playing on a fair playing field. But being that we're not,
no, seriously.
I don't know if I would call it destructive, but it just doesn't seem to yield results. So before we continue, I want to read something, right? Let's see. This is a longer comment. Okay, no, that was someone replying to someone else. Anyway, so I want to read this. This is from Dr. Anderson out of his book, Black Labor, Black Wealth. So he says, Black Americans who traditionally support white candidates in their political parties out of a sense of obligation. History does not show a quid pro quo, which means something for something. Scratch my back, I scratch your back. Basis for the political, cultural, and economic contributions they've made. Those who issue their time, energy, and resources in support of political issues and candidates or political parties expect to be compensated in the manner that is equal to their investment. We play politics just to play. Others play for the benefit of winning or being in the winner's circle. We often support campaign issues that do not benefit us. How we feel about that?
I was going to say,
that was well worded, Dr. Anderson.
There are things we need to take a closer look at, especially some things that are targeted for us, like voting. Voting, they come for us. They exercise your vote. But when it comes to a lot of other things that should be important for us, you don't get this big fight in getting us involved.
Right.
But you want to put us involved in that voting. We're like, why?
It's a good question.
Because they're switching votes.
It's a good question. So let's talk about quid pro quo. He uses that in there. That was new to me when I first read his book. Quid pro quo, which means something for something. So what he's saying is that Black people vote and they don't receive anything for the voting.
Yeah.
And that we vote for white candidates who, may make some empty promises, or you may vote for that white candidate strictly because he's Democrat and you're a Republican, but we don't get any results. And when we don't get results, we don't hold anyone accountable.
Right.
So we're not actually voting to win anything. We're just voting to say, I like that guy.
But,
even though they're not actually doing anything for us. So he's saying we just play politics just to play.
Yeah.
Some Black folks do get rewarded. Especially the ones that go hard at getting other Black folks to vote.
Well, see, that's what I'm saying. But we're saying, the vote.
That's
what he's
handful.
doing for us as Black people.
Nothing.
See, I remember Dr. Anderson, and he didn't say it in this particular quote that I gave, but I've watched him on videos and stuff, and he said, the only time black people should vote is when you're going to get behind a black candidate. That's it. You know, like no white candidate has ever proven to do anything for black people. So if you're going to vote, we all need to get behind a black candidate. Now, of course, black people will say you shouldn't vote for somebody just because they're black and you're black. And Dr. Anderson is saying that is completely incorrect. You should absolutely vote for him because he's black. Because an Asian is voting for the Asian because there's an Asian. A white person is voting for the white person because they're white. Why are you scared as a black person to say, I'm voting for this black person because they're black? Well, what about their politics? Who gives a shit? None of the white people ever do anything for us. Why shouldn't I put all my effort behind this black man or this black woman and see what they do? Because no one else has done anything. And then he also says that if you put that black person in office and then they don't do nothing for black people, you hold them accountable, and you will not be in office next month. So them 30,000 black people that voted for you are not going to vote for you again. I think it's an interesting way of looking at things. And you know, for those in the audience, if you research Dr. Anderson, he's not like some, you know, new guy. You know, Dr. Anderson is who created affirmative action. He also sat on the presidency campaigns with Jimmy Carter. He's been in the White House for like over 40 years. He was in charge of dealing with, because he's a Marine, and I think he was in charge of dealing with post-traumatic stress for Marines and creating, I guess, laws, statutes, commandments that could help them deal with it. So this guy is very seasoned. Dr. Anderson's been around a long time.
I just don't think it's enough now, even when they, you know, when we are being told like your ancestors fought for you to vote and things of that nature. Well, they fought for equality for us. They fought for justice too, and still
we ain't seen nothing yet.
Yeah, because we're, you know, when you vote, and I would never tell anyone not to vote. So let's just get that clear. You know,
that's not what we're saying.
Too many of us like to misscrew things that are being said. We are not telling you not to vote, okay? No. Please go vote, especially if you believe in it. You know what I mean? We're just simply giving, you know, both sides of the table, playing the devil's advocate here and trying to give an explanation for the people who do say they don't participate in voting. Okay, so another bigger thing, and this is a little bit below the surface, right, is there are opponents of voting who will say, I don't vote because I don't participate in the oppressive system. You know what I mean? Like, why would I want to participate in helping another oppressor get in place who's not going to do anything for us? You know, it's like it's not our system. You know, that's their argument on that. I'm not participating. When we start developing our own voting system for our own people, and we're electing who's going to be in place to help guide us, then I'll participate in it. But as far as this whole thing, Democrat, Republican, liberal, independent, there are black people who say, I don't want anything to do with that because that's all their system and it's never benefited us. Like, you know, I know black people who are conscious who say, prove to me when voting has ever helped us. Like, I know we fought hard for it, and myself personally, I would never want to be a heretic and downgrade what our people went through to fight for voting. But there are other black people who will say, but they should have been fighting for their own stuff instead of fighting to be a part of white people's system, which is designed to keep you down. So anybody you vote for is just because you like them. You know, like black people loved Bill Clinton. They even called Bill Clinton back in the day the first black president. Y'all remember that? You know what I mean? It's a lack of knowledge. Bill Clinton single-handedly was responsible for putting millions of black people in jail with the 3-strike law. But yet black people see Bill Clinton as being this good guy. And you know why? Because he went on the Arsenio Hall show and played the saxophone.
That's why.
We're good for entertainment. If you can entertain us, we're cool with it. We look at you, and he moved to Harlem. Yeah, that's our guy. Right? Put millions of black people in jail. It's black people in jail right now because of Bill Clinton. He created the 3-strike law, which was used to put black people in jail. You know what I mean? No matter what you did, once it was your third time, 25 years. You get what I'm saying? But yet black people love Bill Clinton.
I'm actually good for going hard for the vote if we're going to get out here and go hard for everything else. That's going to make us better. Then I'm actually for getting out here going hard for the vote.
I believe in it more on a local level.
But if we're not going to do this to anything else that's going to help us move forward and get better, then
I believe it more on a local level. I'll be voting for Andre Johnson in Harford County. You know, Harford County Council. You know, I'll be voting for Andre Johnson, but I think it's great to have these discussions to kind of give, because there are many of people who, like, there are a lot of black people who are like die hard, like, you need to go vote. This is the problem, you know, why we can't get nowhere. And I'm sorry to say that as a black person, if you think the reason why black people are in the situations that we're in as a community of people because we don't vote, then you are very, very misinformed.
But I feel like
you are very misinformed.
The reasons that we've gone over, there are valid reasons for why people don't vote, though. I feel like there's still very valid reasons as why they choose not to. I'm not saying that, you know, you shouldn't, or down on those that do.
But you see those who don't.
I can understand why, because you haven't seen any results. You don't want to play that game, so.
There's been no results. Right. Like, no one can tell us what happened from us voting.
So even when you do vote and you see no results, do you hold the people you voted for accountable? Do you go back and even, do you follow through with your vote?
We absolutely do not. We don't hold anybody accountable. You know what I mean? And I think that's why Dr. Anderson said we play politics just to play.
Yeah.
We're not playing to win because we've never won.
Because I would assume that's the reason you're out here voting.
Right.
Is to, you know, vote for the person that you believe is going to get the things done that you want to see done.
Right.
But when you don't, I just want to know, like, what do you do from there? Do you do anything?
Right.
Is that why white people like Trump so much?
Well, you know.
Outside of the whole race,
that's
like,
a can of worms right there.
Is he doing what they voted for him to do? Like, is that the whole, I guess, justice behind them not, like, trying to get him out of the White House?
Without going into details of what a president's job is, right? As a white president, all he has to do to be accepted is to make sure he keeps black people down. That's it. The white people will love you. You know, I'm sorry. And I know it's a lot of other technicalities that go involved with it, but that's been the job of every leader of this nation. That's why Barack was not able to get in place and uplift black people. They're not going to let it happen. See, now you're getting into a deeper area of it's their system. So what makes you think you're going to get into their system at that level, right? That high level, right? And then change how things operate. You're not. It's a good old boys club. If you get in, you're getting in for them to say you're going to play ball the way we tell you to play ball, or you're not going to play at all. And that's why some black people, when they get in positions, they're no good to us as black people, even if they wanted to be. But because this system is controlled by white people, and those white people are going to make sure you don't do anything to uplift black people. That's the only way you're going to stay. That's the only way you're going to make it to the next level. You get what I'm saying? Is when you show them that you ain't afraid to vote for Team White. Like I said before, an example was the movie Bright. Remember in the movie Bright on Netflix, where Will Smith took him out in the car and showed him the other ogres, you know, that was like black people, you know, on the corners and doing stuff. And he said to him, he want to make sure that he's blue. You Team Blue. So that's the same with politics. But I think it does have a more profound effect on the lower level. So I will be voting for Andre Johnson.
Okay.
Harford County Council. But yeah, so I kind of get both points. You know, like I see why people are passionate about voting. But when it's being presented with the facts, which is that it's never gotten us any results, that makes it a little difficult for them to kind of have argument on it.
Well, that's why until I'm shown something different, it's going to stay on the destructive side.
So you think it's destructive? Okay. I think it kind of goes both ways. I think it can be constructive. I like Dr. Anderson's approach of we need to vote as a people. Everybody else votes as a people, you know, and for those who swear that that's the biggest reason why black people can't move up in this society is because we don't vote enough, you are highly misinformed, and I'm going to give you something to consider. You've hardly ever seen an Asian politician. I'm not going to say they don't exist, just like I can't say dinosaurs don't exist. I've seen pictures, I just don't know that I've seen one in real life. You understand what I mean? But Asians have had the lowest voter turnout in the past 30 years, but yet the Asian community is prosperous within the United States of America, and they haven't voted for nobody. So you miss me with that nonsense that this is why we ain't moving forward as a people. That's not true. Asians don't vote. You don't see the Italians out here crying about who they voting for, the Irish and all that. For me, this is all a delusional game they put on the black people, right? So y'all can do better if y'all get out there and vote more. For who? For who? Who we gonna vote for that you're gonna let get in there and actually do what they need to do? Nobody. It's their system. If it was up to me, I would create a whole separate system for us. That way our vote would mean something. You know, if you vote Brother Mike in and I don't get it done, get me out of there. But you can't do that with them. Their system's more complicated. And it's just interesting. So vote. Constructive, destructive. Ms. Janice says destructive.
Destructive.
Destructive. See, I struggle with calling it destructive because it's not actually hurting anything. It's just not doing anything.
Right.
Well, the question is constructive or destructive.
Constructive then, if it's not doing anything.
I can't say it's constructive either.
Yeah.
You're right.
Right, because the question is constructive or destructive.
Right. So I'm going to have to go with destructive with you ladies because it hasn't proven to do anything. And I don't say that to discourage anyone. Please go vote. I'm going to go vote. I'm just simply saying in a bigger picture, you know, the overall picture, we haven't seen any results from this voting. So again, if you're in the audience with us today, let us know how you feel about voting, constructive or destructive. And I hope we dispelled some myths, you know, that are attached to voting. But at the end of the day, if you don't have any type of, you know, detailed information to provide in regards to voting, you can just always simply say, well, what has it gotten us? What has the results been? You know, I'm 46. I'll be 46 at the end of this month. I cannot in 46 years think of anything that I got from voting or my family or other people I know or black people, period. I don't have anything. Maybe someone who has more information on that can educate me and edify things, but from my perspective, I haven't seen voting doing one thing for us, and I think it's sad that so many of our people fought so hard for us to get this, and then we're still not getting results. So I definitely want to pay honor and respect to those who lost their lives and put their lives in danger for us to vote. But we forced ourselves into a system that's just not going to ever benefit us.
Yeah.
You know, that's my take on it. But with that being said, go vote. Go vote. All right, so let's move on. Destructive or constructive? Black conservatism / black leaders. Would you like me to read?
Yes.
Okay, let me read and we'll get into this, right? So first we'll start with what is black conservatism. And this is a Google definition. A political or social philosophy rooted in communities of African descent that aligns largely with conservative ideology around the world. I'll read it again. A political or social philosophy rooted in communities of African descent that aligns largely with the conservative ideology around the world. So let's just talk about the definition of it. Okay. Aligns largely with conservative ideology. Do y'all get that? You get that? Yeah. Okay, so whose ideology is it aligning with?
The white man.
I'm just going off the Google. It's Google. You know, it's a Google definition, right? All right, so I'll read. Again, we'll go back to Dr. Anderson and his book, Black Labor, White Wealth. This is what he says in regards to it. He says black conservatives represent a potential danger to their race because of their alignment with white conservatives who have always been anti-black, which you just said. When black-white conservatives alignments occur, black conservatives become a liability to blacks and an asset to whites. By mouthing the social economic views of white conservatives, black conservatives convert confusion of their personal racial identity to a confusion in the minds of black people about the real issue facing them. Black conservatives operate under misleading colors. As an old farmer said, they run with the hounds while pretending friendship and brotherhood with the rabbits. The confusion caused by their schizophrenic behavior provides a public cover for anti-black attitudes and activities that make them appear as nothing more than white racist and blackface minstrel makeup. Becoming a conservative has historically provided personal rewards to individual blacks with few downsides because of the powerlessness of the black community to hold accountable those members who turn against it. Blacks found that it was not difficult to establish beneficial relationships with whites once they accepted a subordinate position and committed themselves to placing the welfare of whites first. Once that was agreed upon, tactically or otherwise, blacks were then entitled to various forms of paternalistic protection, Christian charity, and meritorious recognition. White conservatives then conferred special status and recognition to conservative blacks as exceptional or acceptable. Accordingly, black conservatives who placed their personal advancement above the welfare of the race often gained significant advancements above the welfare of the race and personal financial benefits, recognition, and access to power. they are anointed by whites as leaders and counted as role models. In political and social situations, a black conservative is closely akin to Sambo in the Harriet Beecher Stowe's Uncle Tom's Cabin. The stereotypical Sambo was more than a minstrel man, a buffoon, and a plantation darky. Sambo represented the extraordinary success of social control, which was the ultimate goal of slavery conditioning processes that transplanted a white mindset into a black personality. Ooh, Dr. Anderson. Woo, that was some fire. Did y'all catch all that? Well, I'm going to put it in layman's terms. What he basically said, and it falls right into the definition that Google gave, is that a black conservative is someone who aligns himself with white conservatism. So now you have to get into understanding what is white conservatism and what are they conserving, right? Because we know what the word conserve means. Well, what they are conserving is white supremacy. White people being on top, black people being on the bottom. So he's saying for the black conservatives who do this, the white people will reward you and have you connected financially, certain recognition, and they will also self-anoint you as a leader of the black community.
That's sick.
That's interesting though, right? That's interesting.
Yes.
So with that being said, I'm straight saying destructive. That is straight destructive. That's not good. But do we believe that to be true? I mean, it does make sense. I personally know that it is true, but I'd like to get you ladies' take.
I definitely believe that to be true.
Right, because remember on other shows I've talked about how if we look at Jesse and Al, and no disrespect to Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton, they just happen to be the two that most black people are familiar with. What have they done as black leaders, and how did they become our black leaders? Because we didn't elect them. What they are is black conservatives, just like Dr. Anderson said, who white people have said, these are you people's leaders, right? And we got them, you know what I mean? So I always say, if you look at Al Sharpton in particular, how do you go from standing on a ladder in the middle of New York City, being pro-black, to having a show on CNN? Like, you had to have become a conservative. You get what I mean? You know, that's how they take the sting out of you. You know, if they find a black leader who tends to get the people's attention, then he's really talking some good stuff. Step one is to pull him in and get him on our team. You know, and I don't know what they say or do, but I know it's along the lines of like, listen, we can offer you more opportunities, more exposure, so forth and so on. We can get you financially stable. We just need you to adjust your message just a little bit.
Just can't say this.
Right, you just can't say this, just can't say that. And then once they get you in and get you used to that lifestyle and that money, so then they tighten it up more. Okay, now you can't say this anymore either. Okay, now it's you 3 years in making $8 million a year, and here's the people talking to you that can take it away from you. So you just like, all right, I'll change it. And then what's the excuse? I gotta worry about my family. I feel you, brother. I feel you. Go ahead, though.
I mean, I'm gonna have to say that's true as well. I mean, if you pay attention and you've been watching over the last few years, I mean, you can clearly see that that's how we're operating.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know of any results that I can say that black conservatives have gotten us as a people.
I wouldn't even trust a black conservative.
Right.
Like I just couldn't.
Right.
That feeling that you get, like you're black, but you have those kind of views, is like, who put you here?
Yeah, but people trust them all the time, because even if you look at the black conservatives now that are leading and talking, like a lot of people wouldn't even think that they are.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I don't know if they're in denial or just really not paying attention, but we have quite a few right now that are black conservatives.
Sure.
And out here leading the pack, and we're looking at them like, oh, they're wonderful, and that's not the case.
It's not the case. Not according to Dr. Anderson. You know what I mean? Not according to Dr. Anderson, who's been a part of the White House and everything else, and politics and the whole nine for the past 40 years. So I have to credit him for things that he says.
Not even according to if you're paying attention. I mean,
who does that?
But if these black conservatives was who they say they was, then I mean we're not getting anything done. Like, shouldn't something be done?
Right, right.
Shouldn't we be getting some?
And I like how
something done.
I like how he said the black community has been powerless to hold these people accountable. So what he's saying is when you do have that black person that gets in that position of leadership, local level or even a higher level, and then they don't do anything for us, we're not saying nothing about it.
Because they're not here to change anything. They're here to appease us. They're here to be like, okay, well, so-and-so got shot by a cop. We understand you're angry. We understand, but they can't do anything about it. They're just here to say, oh, we understand.
So you're going back to what I was saying previous, the fact that you're in their system.
Yes.
You're limited to what you can do.
Yeah.
I agree.
And are they out here promoting group economics and going as hard for group economics as they are for other things? Are they even promoting that?
No,
like,
I've never heard a black leader talk about that.
Like, do they not even know that will help our communities?
10 seconds.
Like, greatly? Do they not know it?
Of course
are they not?
You can't keep your job if you do that. See, that's what I'm saying, being in their system. Yeah. But stay with us. We're taking another break. Black Body Man Radio Show. We are talking constructive or destructive.
But they're helping us. They're helping us stay where we are.
Right. That's interesting. That is interesting. Yeah, when they get you in those positions, you're limited to what you can and can't do. You get what I'm saying? And that's why, you know, more conscious black people say we shouldn't be voting at all. If we're going to vote, then we all need to vote for the black candidate, period. You know what I mean? Like, the hell with all this Democrat, liberal, independent. Who gives a shit what stance he's taking? If we're telling him, look, we're all giving you our vote, and we're going to get you in there, and your ass better do something. Because if you don't, we pulling you out.
Yeah.
You understand what I mean? And then we just won't vote again until we get another black person that we can get behind. And that's Dr. Anderson's solution to it. Like, if you're going to vote, you all need to vote for the black people. Like, he's saying these white people have convinced y'all that voting for someone black just because they're black is bad. And black people walk around and say that.
That's what they said when everybody was voting for Obama. Why'd you vote for him? Because he's black.
Exactly.
Right.
And that's why Issa said it on the red carpet. And they now make t-shirts. Remember that? When she's on the red carpet, who are you voting for? Everybody black. Simple as that. Yeah, everybody black. I'm voting for everybody black. And they make us feel that we should not be that way, even though they're that way. You get what I'm saying? If you took a ballot box and it had 10 candidates on it and one was white, all them white people voting for that white person.
That's crazy because I've never seen.
We back?
Are we back?
All right, yeah. I thought we already went.
Oh no, we were just talking?
Yeah, I thought we went to break.
She's like, go ahead.
And the guy, my friend was like, hey, there's a young lady walking down. He's like, hey, you should go holler at her. And I'm like, nah, man, you know, I'm a shy guy anyway, so I'm not going to do that. But he's like, yeah, do it, man. Go ahead, do it. So I said, hey, how are you? She kept walking past, and my friend also yelled out something as well. So she had stopped and she had looked at us or whatever, and she said, this was the day before Christmas too, it was so bad. And she's like, God damn it, it's Christmas. Like, leave me alone. And I'm like, what's wrong? I'm just trying to talk to you. You know what I mean? Like, I'm literally trying to talk to her. I'm catcalling. And I'm thinking, like, you know, it's funny. You know what I mean? I'm literally thinking, this is a couple years ago. I'm literally thinking, like, this is funny. Huh? You know what I mean? Like, whatever. We get into that bar and she's there. Okay, and she lays me out.
Good for her.
She lays me out. I tell you, I mean, little do I know, I had dealt with a hardcore feminist that day. She even told me, she's like, I'm a feminist. You did not know that. You do not know who I am. You do not know where I'm from. You do not know who I know.
What's up, guys? It's your boy Shepsworth Bentley, and if you haven't heard last week's show, make sure you guys go into BeExposedRadio.com's Facebook page or YouTube page and check it out, because you don't want to miss it. Our next show is going to be next Sunday, every Sunday, 7 to 8 p.m., Homegrown Radio, new, fresh Baltimore radio.
Whoa.
The moment my son saw a redwood tree.
It's huge!
Is the moment I knew that for him,
You can't even see the top of that thing!
even the sky has no limit.
You are listening to BeExposedRadio.com.
That is absolutely horrible. Absolutely.
Everything on the list is deacon.
Let's stop that. So I like when he said blacks found that it was not difficult to establish beneficial relations with whites once they accepted subordinate positions and committed themselves to placing the welfare of white class first. See, and that's what he's saying. They're only going to let you get the position if you're going to be a subordinate to them and put the white issues first. Now, if you're Latino, they will let you take a stance as a political Latino representative and say, you know, Maria, you know, is about the Latino community. We know that her campaign is going to deal with focusing on Latino problems within the Latino community. Same with if it was Asian, or same with if it was Middle Eastern Indian. But they will not allow black people to do that. They will not allow you to be black and then say, my focus is the black community. And what's so sad, I'm going to give you the sad part. The sad part is if you had a black candidate who came forward and said, my primary goal is to fix things amongst my community, my people. And if white people allowed him to take that stance, I kid you not, it would be black people who would step forward and say, he's dead wrong for being that way. You should be trying to fix communities in this whole county. You understand what I mean? Even though that may be his overall goal, but he's just saying, I'm going to focus on my people because I'm black. Black people would have a fit with it also.
Oh yeah. Black
conservatives.
Oh yeah.
They wouldn't allow that. You got to remember, every time people get taken down, they use us to do it. Like, you guys familiar with W.E.B. Du Bois? All right. He's pretty known amongst the black community. You know what I'm saying? He's done some great things. And I don't want to be a heretic and say anything negative about him. So I'm just going to say the truth. Well, what they don't tell you about W.E.B. Du Bois is that he was the one that took down Marcus Garvey. They use black people to deal with black people. You get what I'm saying? But if you just read about Marcus Garvey and read about W.E.B. Du Bois, you would think these dudes was on the same level. You understand what I mean? But the reality is W.E.B. Du Bois was a black conservative and Marcus Garvey was not. You get what I'm saying? And Marcus Garvey was about uplifting us as a people. W.E.B. Du Bois was more worried about, you know, assimilating into dominant society. You get what I mean? But he was a part of taking him down. Bing, bing, bing.
Martin Luther King, Malcolm X.
Exactly. Martin Luther King was set up by black people. I keep it 100 around here. You understand what I'm saying? I love my people, but do we got issues? Absolutely. 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 Jesse Jackson and them are still in position because they got rid of Martin Luther King. Farrakhan's still in position because he got rid of Malcolm X. W.E.B. Du Bois goes down to history as a great black man because he got rid of Marcus Garvey. See?
Damn.
Yeah. Will we keep going?
No.
All right, because I'll keep going because Dave Chappelle was ran out the game by Oprah. Y'all better get y'all shit right. Get it together. You know, brother Mike know a couple things. I'm just saying. Don't go down the, you know, the rabbit hole. They put black people in place. I'll give you some food for thought, right? Think about this. If you have a group of black people who are considered to be the elite black people, right? As black people, they know that all the rest of us are just as talented and gifted as they are. How can they stay the elite if they help us come up? How you gonna stay Oprah if you help Glenn by Sam become Oprah? See, 10 years from now, Oprah could be a thing of the past. Somebody could say, Oprah, please. Glenn by Sam been surpassed her financially, you know, back in 2018. So think about that. You can't stay the elite if you let all the rest of us come along and you know that we just as talented as you. We black just like you. Like I always say, if you watch a football game, right, and you see a brother catch a little short pass and he break down the field and he outrunning everybody, and then in the background somebody's running like 100 miles an hour and catches him on the 4-yard line. Guess who it was? Us.
That's so sick.
It's us. So they know we are a powerful race of people. If you really want to shut a black person down, you may have to use another black person to do it. Right.
Damn.
I'll get him coached. You know what I'm saying? Go downfield, snatch him up. You know, and I just think that's a great analogy to look at that. You know?
No, but that makes a lot of sense.
It does. How you gonna stop these powerful people?
Damn.
By using their power against them. You know what I mean? Using their power against them. They send out other people to come talk to you. So they ready to get at you for something you doing, you big or whatever. They're not about to send Dave Anderson at you. They're going to send, Sean.
Raheem is in.
Right. Raheem. You know what I'm saying? Shaniqua. You know what I'm saying? They're going to tell you they want to have a sit down with you. You need to have a sit down. You know what I mean? Do the background check on Dave Chappelle when he went to Africa. You'll find some interesting stuff. It was black people that was pulling him up and saying they didn't appreciate the type of skits that he was doing in regards to black people. Showing crackheads and prostitutes and pimps and all that. And they felt it wasn't the proper image for black people. And these are black people that's part of the elite. And, basically, you can see why they would feel that way. But Dave Chappelle's stance was, if we was doing something to stop it, I wouldn't be able to make a skit over it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like the power you putting into stopping me from showing a crackhead or playing a role as a crackhead or a pimp or whatever, you should be putting that power into stopping us being that.
Yeah.
Instead of worrying about me glorifying it. I'm trying to make money like y'all. You know what I mean? Like you don't care about us being in this condition, but you don't want nobody to say nothing.
They're okay with it.
Right. It keeps them elite.
Yeah.
How they gonna stay elite if all the rest of us get to, come along? I'm just saying,
I saw every show.
I'm just saying. All right, let's keep it moving though. All right. So on black conservatives, I said destructive. Ladies? Destructive. Okay. Audience, how you feel? Let us know. All right. Constructive or destructive? Sparing the rod.
Licks.
Sparing the rod. Now, before we answer, I want to read this because I know most black people are familiar with this. So this is Proverbs 13:24, and I'll read it from the proper Hebrew translation, not necessarily the King James. That's not always the best Bible, right? It's a good Bible though, but it's not the most accurate in translation and transliteration. So the accurate translation is this: he that spareth the rod hateth his son, but he that loveth him chastises him at dawn. So that's the proper translation of that. He that spareth the rod, hateth his son, but he that loveth him chastises him at dawn. So it basically means if you love your children, you will use the rod on them. If you don't love your children, then you won't use the rod on them. So, should we still use the rod on our children? Is this constructive or destructive?
Constructive.
Okay. Reasons.
Because I got licked, so I turned out great.
And there are plenty of kids who didn't, and look at our children. Out of control.
Okay. All right.
Out of control.
Right. So you say?
Constructive.
Okay. And your reasons?
The kids are out of control.
Okay.
My reasons are it's definitely necessary. I mean, if you're not going to teach them right from wrong and discipline them when they're wrong, then how are they going to learn?
Right. Okay.
I mean, I understand. I don't think you could keep saying something repetitive, because as you can see, we say things repetitive all the time, and what gets done? Nothing.
Okay. I say constructive as well.
Action.
I say constructive as well. First of all, most black people consider themselves to be spiritual one way or another. And I think most of us believe in the Bible. Okay, so the fact that it's written in scripture, constructive, right?
Yes.
I think it was used against us because it was still us having family structure. The way that we discipline our children, first of all, is our business. Stop trying to get us as a separate people from you to conform to your rules in society. You get what I mean? If you like giving your children timeouts and all that, we don't have a problem with that. But don't look at the way we discipline our children and then say we're wrong for that. Now, the focus of this, believe it or not, was on us. Because Asians beat the hell out their kids with bamboo sticks and some more shit. Nobody says nothing. You understand what I'm saying? Nobody is telling the Asians, you're wrong for that. You understand what I mean? But with us as black people, one of the things that we kept intact as a people, right, was the discipline we had on our children. The further you go back, it didn't matter what type of life we were living as black people, in poorness or whatever. Our children were respectful.
Right.
They were respectful to black people, white people, Asian people, all people. Right? Okay. If that stays in place, that eventually is going to uplift us as a community of people. You can't have all these respectful kids turning out to be losers in life.
Right.
Right, okay. So one of the ways you can infiltrate the family structure, and we already talked about one, which was child support. That's infiltrating the black family structure, right? Breaking it apart. The next step, or at least one of the next steps, was to stop us from disciplining our children. See, their children have always been out of control. That's why nobody thinks of a black person when they think of a serial killer. You get what I'm saying? Because it's never been us. Nobody thinks of a black person when they think about school shootings. You get what I'm saying? Nobody thinks of a black person on many issues, right? And that was because of our training that we gave our children. We disciplined our children. Okay, now the scripture says, if you don't, you hate your child.
Yes.
So what better way to cause another breakup amongst black families with us as spiritual people than to have us go against what the Most High told us we're supposed to be doing? You're teaching us to hate our children. Now, when I teach this with other black people, they'll say, well, that's wrong. I don't hate my children. Well, it's not always just in the literal sense about your child. I'll give you an example of how it applies. If you pull up to 7-Eleven at 2:30 in the morning, and it is a darkened neighborhood, right? More rougher area. And it's 4 white kids out there, and 2 of them got skateboards. You will get out your car and go in 7-Eleven and get whatever you get. But if that same scenario gets flipped, and it's 4 black kids, and one of them got on a big coat, and they looking suspect as they taught us they look, there's a high probability that you may decide to go to another store. You may pull up and say, nah, I'm gonna go to the other 7-Eleven because I don't know what they up to. Is that not proof that you hate your children? Because you really should feel safer with these black kids there, especially as a woman. You should pull up like, oh yeah, it's 4 young black men there, I'm good. But you don't feel that, do you?
No.
That's a result of them taking away from us the ability to discipline our children. Because when I was younger, it didn't matter what we were into in our personal life. We respected our elders.
Right.
The children today don't have that. And they don't because we have taken the rod away. Because another group of people told us it's wrong to be that way. When it has worked for us all throughout our existence as African people, as black Americans, the whole nine. But now that they've removed it by telling us it's wrong, look what's going on with our children. A 19-year-old will punch a 68-year-old man in the face like he's also 19. These children have no respect because they have not been brought up in the same world that I was brought up in, where my mother would whip our ass. You know, my father would whip our ass. Your uncles, your neighbors, you get what I'm saying? We taught our children respect. They saw that. That was going to be a problem for them. You know what I mean? You can't have these black kids being respectful. Respect is going to lead to them having a different thought process. We got to teach them to not be respectful. Let's tell the black people they're wrong for beating their children and disciplining them and stop them from doing it. And then their kids will continue to go out of control. What do y'all think?
I think that's like the thought process that it takes to say, okay, stop disciplining your kids to have this end result happen.
It's
the
evil.
Thought process behind that is sick.
It's pure evil. And that's what you're dealing with in this society, pure evil.
If you think about it even further, you can go as far as to say, like, yeah, stop disciplining your kids, but I'll do it for you. Don't that go along with when they set curfew times for your kids to be in the house?
Sure. See, that's what I'm saying. That's my whole point. They have taken complete control of what we literally do in our house. We didn't need them to give us a curfew. Every black person on the planet knows what the curfew is. That street light. We didn't need you to give us that.
To you when you were born, like you already know.
We didn't need them to give us that. But yet they did. They took away our right to discipline our children, made it out to be bad. I mean, you got black children today that'll tell the police, tell that person, you hit me again, I'm calling the police. If you would have said that when I was a child, let me tell you, you would have needed the police at the end of that. The police, ambulance, you know what I'm saying, bags to pack your stuff, you know what I mean? Like, you would have needed some things.
You have to go, the kids go before them in court. They discipline them there. They give them what they feel like they should have. They setting the time. So they took disciplining from us. And
yes, they did.
They taking control of it
and we're
themselves.
seeing the results of it.
And they want to discipline our kids, and that's what they're doing.
Well, you know, the old folks used to say, if you don't beat your child will grow up and beat you.
Then you just
Is that not what be happening?
Yeah.
Didn't you just see that officer beat that 14-year-old girl in the ribs for not listening?
Good example. Yes. Example. See? Yep. True. See, no discipline.
They will discipline your children.
They switched us over to their standard. Well, and they created our standard, whereas we had our own standard. You know what I mean? And there was a time where your mother could have came home from work and the neighbor could have came over and said, yeah, you know, I caught little Mike, you know, over here doing something he shouldn't have done. And he tried to sass me a little bit. And I tore his little ass up. And you know what your mama say? And thank you, baby. I appreciate it. And I hope she whipped your ass again. That's what parents did. That's what they did. But today it's like, you put your hands on my child. And forget putting your hands on it. Don't even say nothing to that kid. You get what I'm saying? You're going to get in trouble for even saying anything. You got other black people that's going to come up and be like, don't be talking to my child like that. I wouldn't have to if you would. You know? Wouldn't have to if you would. How about that? That's interesting, right?
That's very interesting.
So I think sparing the rod is destructive. I think it has proven to be destructive.
Definitely.
You know what I mean? Like, our children are not as respectful as they was when we were children.
Not at all.
You know, and when we were children, everybody before that was respectful because we still had that as a part of our culture. And that's been removing now, you know. And now, you know, you got other black parents looking at you like, you beat your kids? Yeah. I just give them time out.
Time out.
Shit, I'm going to take time out and take this belt off.
The new thing now is time out.
Time out.
You know, and,
time out or taking a game away or taking a cell phone for 24 hours.
You know, like some of the posts they be putting on Facebook and they be like, white mom going to the store. And the white mom's like, now, you know, you only get one item. You know, and it's going to be for your birthday, you know, blah, 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 you know. And black moms are like, listen, don't you touch shit while we in here. You better not pick up nothing. Don't look up nothing. You better stay behind me the whole time or I will beat your ass in this supermarket. Yeah, that's where we come from. You know what I'm saying? The speech we get before we go in the store is not a good one. It is not a good one. You know, so you can be in there acting up if you want. And it was such a powerful thing that when you was in the store and you saw a black parent dealing with an irate child, we would almost ask, you want my belt? You need my belt? I'll lend you my belt if you want to bust his ass right now. I got a belt for you. You get what I'm saying? Like, we would look at each other like they're strange, like, she ain't raising him right.
But then when you go into the store, you see them other kids wilding out, you be like, if that was my child, I don't know where that is.
You can get, look, when I was young, as a child, I could get in trouble because that little kid was wilding out. So I'm walking with my mother, you understand what I'm saying? And here's a little white kid wilding out, my mother looking at him and look at me. If you ever try some shit like that, I will tear your ass. Like, I wasn't even doing nothing, Mom. So you can get in trouble because that white kid was acting up. They would remind you, don't you ever consider trying that. Right, you know? And today, it's a little different. It's a little different. It's a little different. You know, like even if you had a mother that wasn't able to handle the child, another mother might be in there or another father, they help you. You want me to hold his arm? Go grab the other arm.
Not even that. Could, like you said, another parent could be around like beat her.
Yeah, whip her ass. Excuse me, baby. I don't want to be in your business, but I hope you're going to whip her ass. What she just doing?
Just from another parent saying that, the child, look, just from another parent saying that, the child heard it like, huh?
Yeah. Other child looking like, you need to mind your business. Billy, stop it. You speak to her that way. Shit.
Oh,
Billy wouldn't even have no jaw no more. Yeah. Billy wouldn't even have no jaw no more. Billy be in class the next day standing up. I can't sit down.
But you know how when black people see, like, they see a kid doing something, you be like, you know he ain't getting his tail beat. You know he ain't getting no licks.
We know it. Soon as we see it. That's a good point. Soon as we see it, like, yeah, they ain't whipping him. Look at him over there wilding out, talking about no. We wasn't even allowed to use the word no. No wasn't even in the vocab. You know, when we got told something or asked something to do, the proper response that I was taught is for you to acknowledge you about to do it right now.
Right.
And we even had a thing with right now. You know what I mean? Like my parents and that generation, you know, they tell you to do something. Hey, look, go get that trash and take it out back. That meant right now.
Right.
Not I'm going, let me finish this game.
Right.
You understand what I mean? I wait till I put my shorts on. What? Man, look, why you got them shorts off? Let me take this belt off real quick. You know, you get it. So that sense of urgency was put on us as well. They told you to do something, they meant do it. And they kept us busy. They had this thing about idle hands. You get what I'm saying? Like, I remember being around family members, like if you was upstairs or you was outside and then, you know, your mother was in there and your grandmother was in there, 2 of your uncles, and you outside with your boys, you like, yo, get your G.I. Joe Kung Fu grip. Nah, dog.
You didn't want to go.
I left that in the house. I am not going back in there.
Because you knew as soon as you walked in, you gotta have to do
Man, been up since 7 this morning cleaning.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? 11:30, and you trying to send me back in there? No, thank you.
If you listen
They ain't gonna let me come back out.
If you listen to the kids talk today, even if they see like 5 adults around, they do not care.
No.
Like the words that come out of their mouth is still very disrespectful.
Right, it is.
To the 5 adults that's standing there, and they don't have a clue that is disrespectful. And if an adult would even, you know, open their mouth to even say something to one of the young kids, just expect
Backlash.
Pretty much. So it's pretty bad today.
So we got to get back to our culture.
Yes.
We got to get back to that rod.
We should.
That rod works.
A little bit of licks never hurt nobody.
And
Makes you a better individual.
And look, I'm just thinking of something that's funny, right? Because when this started happening, remember the older folks knew it, right? So the grandmother wasn't on that timing. That was some new shit their mom was on.
Yeah.
And the grandmother be like, listen, I ain't your mother. I'll beat your ass up here.
But you really,
you know what I'm saying? She let you get away with that. You can pull that over here.
But to even really, you know, think about it like the Bible said that if you don't, if you do spare the rod, you know, you hate your kids. If you really think about it, like you can't love them if you're not disciplining them and teaching them. Like,
right.
I don't understand how you can sit up there and say like, I love my child.
Right.
How can you love your child and you ruining your child? And you're helping ruin this child as if you don't know, like, you know, the repercussions this child's going to take in their later years by not being disciplined.
Yeah, like it was something about having a, I would say, a tougher journey as a black person. The further you go back, the more they understood how important it was to have the children disciplined, because they was aware of the tough road that they were on trying to take care of them, and they knew it was only going to make it worse for them if they didn't have the proper discipline. Whereas it's like today, like, you know, everyone's got so many options on what to do with their life. You know what I mean? Like, it's the road's not as tough anymore. So we've lightened up. Like, you know, I remember a day where, like I said, when I was a kid, if you was going to get a new bike, everybody knew when that was going to be Christmas. And it won't be next Christmas after that. Like, you don't get bikes back to back. You know what I'm saying? You get that one bike for Christmas, that's good for 3 to 5 years. That's good. You know what I mean? Like, those were big gifts. Whereas today, like a child to get an iPhone just because it's Tuesday, right? You know, yeah, my mom just bought me a MacBook. What's your birthday? Nah, we was just at Towson Town Center and I told her I wanted one. Wow. You know what I mean? Like, we're living in that day and age. 10-year-olds walk around with cell phones. I've seen parents have arguments about how their 10-year-old has to have a cell phone. How else is she going to be able to reach me? How am I going to be able to reach her? I don't know, but we did it for like 100 years before cell phones, so I'm sure it's a way it can work out. Matter of fact, you just had an incident. We won't go into details, but the particular person was saying, my cell phone's dead and my family's in the hospital, so I'm completely out the loop from knowing what's going on. And when she was telling me about it, I'm thinking like, well, did they know the building had landlines? Or like, newsflash, you can make phone calls without cell phones. Like, you can use a landline and call the hospital and say, what room are they in? You get what I mean? Yeah. But she was coming like, my cell phone's gone and
didn't know what to do.
I don't know what to do. I got family at the hospital. Landline, you know, try that out. Sometimes it works, right? All right, so sparing the rod we all think is constructive. All right, so let's move forward. Constructive or destructive? Single parent homes, mothers in particular, in single parent homes, constructive or destructive?
Destructive.
Destructive?
Yes.
So here's the question. Should our women consider the consequences of evicting the male figure in the home before doing so?
I don't like that word eviction, but okay.
That's pretty much what it is, though.
No, it's not.
All right, what word would you like to use?
I don't know what I would replace it with, but evict is like if she put him out. He could have left.
I think a lot of cases they put him out. It's usually over cheating and stuff. You know, but I guess that's what the question is getting at, right? Like, this is like a double-edged sword, right? Because like if you deal with a woman and like, you know, she's saying, I got rid of him because he cheated on me all the time, right? Okay, we all get that. That's grounds, right? No one's going to argue with that. Like, oh, no, I get it. You know what I mean? Like, she couldn't deal with it no more. But I'm saying there are other factors involved. What effect is this going to have on the children who spent the first 4 years of their life with daddy in the house, and now daddy's gone because he cheated? Now, he might have been good on everything else. He might have, you know, been a good father, and because, you know, women will get rid of you. You could be batting 90 out of 100 and lose 10 points because you cheated. And for some women, that's enough for you not to be in the home at all and, you know, lose that bond that you had with your children.
That's enough to get out, go to child support.
Get out, go to child support, the whole nine.
It's just this destructive all the way around.
Destruction all the way around. Break it. Yeah, so you get what I'm saying, you know?
No, the destructive path.
Because I remember a time, and the reason why I say this, and maybe someone else will remember this, and again, I'm not saying this like this is what women have to do or whatever, but I remember there was a time where, you know, if you took women, especially in great-great-grandmother's age, you know, like they might have known the man was a little promiscuous. You get what I'm saying? But she would say, I know he'd do some things I don't approve of, but, you know, he's a good father, he's a good provider, you know, and the kids need their father. I'm not going to just disown him and put him out and have my children not grow up with their father in the house just because he's cheating on me. He ain't getting none of this. You understand what I'm saying? But I'm gonna let him stick around for the rest of the good that he do. There was a time where women did that, and I'm not saying that women should or have to do that. I'm just simply throwing it out there how things could be considered, because I personally know one particular female I know in particular. She was with her man, and he lived in the home, and they had 2 children, and he was a good father. But she said he was a habitual cheater. And she was like, and that's why I put him out and divorced him. Okay, and I'm saying, I get it. But like now your kids don't have a father in the home. You understand what I mean? And you're hoping that now that he's not there, he's going to step up to the plate and try to like double up on his time with him. And that's not always the case. You know, so like, is that something that should be considered before you just put a man out your life? Should you even have any thoughts about the children? Or is it just strictly about what the woman is feeling hurt behind?
I think at that point she's tried hard enough to keep him in.
30 seconds.
But, I mean, at what point is enough enough?
Right. I get that. But what's the effect on the children?
Yeah, but what is the effect on the children?
Right.
Wouldn't that be just as much destructive as keeping them there and battling back and forth every day and watching your mom miserable every day and going through that as well too?
That's a good point. So we're going to take a break and we're going to come back and finish discussing this. Constructive or destructive? Yeah, that was a good point. That was a good point. I like that.
He didn't respect
Be Exposed Radio.
Well, if you made them, take care of them.
Yeah, that's
period.
Real. Right. That's the real deal.
It's period.
Right. And all that old money shouldn't go toward this, money should go to. If the child is with one of the parents 24/7, 7 days a week, you don't even come get your child every day. You come get your child once a month maybe, or once every 3 months.
Right.
You cannot dictate where that money goes.
Hi, I'm LeVar
especially if the child ain't calling you about nothing. Now, if the child calling you every week, then you can question about where the child support is going.
Hey, there's my son. You've been in your room all morning.
Hey, Dad.
Matt, what's wrong with your voice?
There is nothing wrong with my voice.
Oh, well, it's just sort of.
I have been playing my video games and electronic games for so many hours.
Well, it sounds like it might be time for you to take a break, or...
Hello, Dad.
Susan?
I have been watching TV and text messaging all morning. Yay, electronics. Yay, yay, yay.
Guys, I think it's about time to get in the car and take a little trip. Maybe see some trees, some green things.
What are these green things you speak of?
This weekend, unplug. Take your family to the forest. There's nothing in the world like experiencing nature firsthand. Trees, paths, bluebirds, streams. Getting closer to nature can get you closer to your family. To find the forest nearest you, go to discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Get out to the forest and discover the wonders of nature with your family.
You are listening to BeExposedRadio.com.
Mother, everyone expects you to make sacrifices. You know what I mean? Welcome back. Yeah, I think mothers.
I just don't like this.
I get it. I get it.
I don't like that responsibility.
I just like throwing out both sides. You know what I mean? But like, I get it. Like, if a woman takes that stance and says he's a habitual cheater, I'm done with him. I get it. But I'm just saying, the children are going to suffer.
What if it was something other than cheating? What if he chose to leave?
Well, the reason why I picked cheating, because that's like the number one thing. I mean, yeah, if it was a pedophile or something like that, you know, I get it. But that's why I picked that. Though,
and even with, I don't know, even in situations like that, you have to be careful. I mean, that's why we have to be teaching our daughters now. A lot of times you can see this happening before it even happens. If you meet somebody and he's a cheater, like, it's your choice if you want to sit up there, still have a child, live together, get married. Like, you know the red flags. You've seen them. So which is when it happens, then it shouldn't be like, oh, this is such a great surprise for you. So at that point, no, you don't make an immediate decision to be like, you're getting out. Like, my kid not going to have a father now because of this.
Right.
You know, because you knew this going into, and you still decided to bring me here. So now you have to figure out a way, Mom, to deal with it. Because I'm not going to suffer now because you made a bad choice.
Right.
So it's different in that situation. So it's different situations for that.
Right.
You know, when somebody knowingly do something.
I guess I'm just saying, when do the children get considered? Like, when do the children get considered?
They should be considered
in situations of that. Because from what I've seen, and I'm no authority on this, I don't see the children getting considered. What I see is women considering strictly how they feel.
So you think that they're selfish?
Children.
I'm not saying that.
That's what it sounds like.
Children should be
I'm
considered.
just asking, when do the children become
They
into
should
the
be
fact?
considered every time.
Hold on. Do we factor? Yeah. Thank you. You know what I'm saying? Do we factor in the children when those type of decisions are being made? That's what I'm asking.
Every time.
So you think a woman thinks about the absence of that man for her children?
When a woman gets to that point where she has to put that man out her house, she's at her absolute lowest. And that relationship has gotten to a point where it's so toxic, it's not even healthy for them two to be together and be in that same household.
But he's a good father. So all that is thrown away because of her emotions. Remember what I said. He's a good father, and he's getting the job done, but he's a cheater. So who can emotionally deal with the situation more? You as an adult dealing with your feelings, or the kids dealing with their feelings of their daddy's not there no more? I'm just playing the devil's advocate. You know, it's not my situation, but you get what I'm saying? I don't see, in my experience, I haven't seen any consideration for the children. And when I've seen that, it was with older folks. You understand what I mean? Like, people like to look at like older couples, right? Great grandmothers and all that, right? And they'll say, oh, you know, my grandmother, my grandfather been together for 34 years, right? And in their mind, it was some great relationship. But talk to the grandmother. I bet she'll tell your ass something different.
He put her through hell.
Thank you. And you know what she'll say? But he's a good man, and I know he just was filled with lust, just like every other man. He took care of me. He took care of these children, and I dealt with some downsides and emotional trauma. But he eventually got his act together, and now, you know, that hasn't been like that in years. And the family got to grow up with their father in the house. So you get what I'm saying?
I understand
you know
what you're saying. I just don't like how all that responsibility gets put onto the wife or the woman in the situation, because the same way we make choices, y'all make the same choices, and y'all have to have the same priorities when it comes to maintaining your family and keeping that unit together. So you can't put on the woman and say like, oh well, at what point do you consider the kids? At what point did he consider his kids and his family union?
No man is ever going to consider their kids when they cheat. I keep telling you that. They don't consider their wife their kids. I didn't say it was acceptable. Who said it was acceptable? We're saying that he's getting put out because of it. So that proves it's not acceptable.
We're saying that justifies.
But I'm a rebuttal what you just said. I'm a rebuttal what you just said. You say that we have the same decisions and face the same situations as y'all. That's not true. I'm gonna tell you why that's not true. I'm gonna tell you why that's not true. Because y'all decide when we having babies, not men. Y'all decide that. Black men do not decide when they're having babies. Black women make that decision for them. So what you are saying to me is based off your decision to get pregnant, that you see that he's in the equal scenario. That's not true. Because I'm telling you the secrets to these relationships. Black women choose when that black man's going to have babies. But black men choose who they marry. And we never marry the woman who had a baby by us without our consent.
No, don't bring that nigga back. I'm going back. I'm going back to the original question.
Yeah.
No, let's just go back. I'm going back to the original question. The single family homes,
right.
particularly with the moms, destructive or constructive. I'm going back to the original question.
So we think
I think it's destructive.
Okay, so here's the next question. That's a part of that, right? Has this hurt our community?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So we agree on that. Is it important to have both parents in the home?
Absolutely.
Yes. Wait a minute now. Y'all just said he got to go because he cheated. So that can't be too important.
We didn't say that he has to go. I'm just saying you can't put that responsibility onto the woman alone. That's my whole thing.
If you think that men are going to consider their children before they cheat, they're not.
I think it's. I think in a situation.
Not realistic.
It's just okay.
I think in a situation like that, it's just a case by case, whatever solution. It's case by case.
It's case by case.
Case by case.
He's saying no. That if your man is cheating and y'all got kids together, you better suck it up and keep on.
That's not what I'm saying.
That's what it sounds like.
No, it's not. I asked the question. I said, are the children considered before these decisions are made? That was the question. I said, are these women considering the effect that it's going to have on the children if they put the man out who was doing well as a father, but failing as a monogamous partner? Do you get what I'm saying?
Failing as a husband.
No. Failing as a monogamous partner. I'm saying he's doing well as a husband and being a father. He treats her good. Right? Treats her like a queen, treats the kids good, being a good provider, but he fails at monogamy. He's still cheating. So
change the narrative of the monogamous partner cheating. Put in something else, like what? In and out of jail?
No, because that's not what's causing single parent homes. So
why isn't it?
Brothers going to jail?
Right.
He wasn't in the house when he went to jail.
He could have been.
No, it's not a lot of cases of brothers who were living with a woman and working it out, and then they end up going to jail.
Or he gonna go into jail.
Yeah, that's usually dudes who already.
I mean, you're going to have to kind of weigh your options. If you have 4 little children running around and they can be without a dad, you're going to have to kind of weigh that.
Okay, I like that, and that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm asking. Is that considered? The effect that you putting him out strictly because he was a cheater, are we considering the effect that's going to have on the children? Because it is going to affect the children that their father is not in the home.
And I don't think each time that stuff is considered. No, I don't think.
Okay, see, that's all I was asking.
I don't think
it's because I'm playing the devil's advocate, you think I'm pushing on that. I'm not pushing on it.
I think
I'm just simply presenting it out there.
I think a lot of times it's just based on the woman's emotions and maybe her ego. Like, it's a lot of times it just could be based on that.
Right, because there are a lot of children that grow up and then have issues with their parents.
Yeah,
they say, you took my dad away from me, all because you was mad because he slept with somebody. Like, I know that hurt you, but it hurt me for the next 18 years. It hurt you for 18 months. And you healed from it and went on, but we haven't had our father since.
Yeah, because you still have to remember.
And then you know the fathers over there are like, this your mom's fault.
Yeah. And sometimes that could be true, because you still have to remember, when women get mad about that and put, the guy out, like, they kind of, restrict the father now when they can see the kids. That's what I'm saying.
Look at everything that goes along with it.
It causes a whole nother mass of issues.
Okay. All right. Well, let's move on. We got one more question in regards to that. So this question says, a fair amount of black women say that they can do fine with raising kids alone.
False.
Is that true? Is that correct?
I don't believe it.
Constructive or destructive?
I haven't seen it to be correct if it is.
But they say it. Constructive or destructive?
Destructive.
Destructive. I think that's destructive too.
I think in a single home, the parent can just do the best they can.
Right.
But I think with kids, all kids need both the mom and dad.
Because look, I'll say something in regards to what we were just saying, right? So think about how many women don't even have a man who would even be in the home taking care of the kids, right? And at the same time, they still dealing with a brother who cheating on them, Right. So imagine how they looking at the women when they say, so let me get this right. So like he was in the house and taking care of the kids and treating you like a queen. Yeah, but he was cheating on you. Sweetheart, this dude don't do nothing for me. And he still cheats on me. You get what I'm saying? You know, so you let that go behind that. Like, you know, it's strong that a lot of them could do that. But anyway, so the last one, constructive or destructive protesting. Constructive or destructive? How much time we got, Nate?
I'm going to have to go with destructive.
Destructive, protesting, destructive, constructive.
Destructive.
Destructive?
Constructive. I don't know. It's what do you see how it can be constructive.
She's like, I don't know.
It's supposed to be constructive.
Right.
It's supposed to be. The basis behind it's supposed to be a constructive thing. Does it always end up to be that? No.
I think it can be destructive or constructive, depending on what it's for. I think it's constructive if we protest an Asian beauty supply that treated the sisters wrong.
Right.
I think that's constructive. I think it's destructive if we protest for fair treatment from white people. Really? You know what I mean? So I'm kind of, you know, in between. But hey, listen, these were some good topics. Like this brought out some good opinions.
Yeah, we got kind of stuck on that one before the last.
I was trying to tell you, destructive or constructive is a keeper. Episode 1, constructive or destructive.
Having a little bit today.
So we're going to try to do a episode on constructive or destructive every month. We're implementing this as part of the Black by the Man radio show. If you guys have tips, you can send it to blackbytheman4u@gmail. And we're going to go ahead and sign off. And remember, go to blackbytheman.com to get your t-shirts and your swag. Buy is spelled B-U-Y. And I'm your host, Brother Mike, along with my co-host, the lovely Ms.Janice, our awesome team member, Miss Samantha, Glam by Sam. We thank y'all for tuning in with us. This was great. And I'll catch you on the flip side. That's the black side, baby. Peace.
Okay.
Driving has a rhythm all its own. Don't wreck it with a text. Before you get behind the wheel, silence your phone. Or better yet, designate